I want it to be in the middle. Let's look at a module which has this as its graded dimension. Let's keep it here, and let's say that this is an exact sequence. Now by your Rank-Mills theorem or something, let's call this question mark. Dimension of question mark is dimension of that minus the dimension of that, right? Rank-Mills theorem. What is this? It's in course, its dimension is this dimension, right? So this is really just G1 minus G2. The dimension is this sort of a dimension, right? Okay, now what is this Q doing? Well, if I just arrange for this map to also shift the degrees around, shift the grading around, I think it shifts up by 1. What I'll get here is precisely a division by Q. Okay? I'm just making this map shift the degree up by 1, then everything will get moved to the left in the descending functions, and that will precisely correspond to Q. Now if you can do this by doing completely algebraic stuff, then this has the power to generalize to possibly other algebras. Right? And then there are so many other identities that are yet to be found. If you just remove that A11, make it something more complicated, I don't know, D43, then we don't know what the identities look like. And then this machine would probably generalize in that case. And that's the whole point of doing it this way, so that you stay completely on the algebraic side, but you still incorporate all the steps in the motivated proof. Okay, so I've lost my notes. Alright, now imagine a bad world in which there are some identities where you can't possibly divide by just pure power of Q. What you must do naturally is to divide by, let's say, Q to the 5 plus Q to the 17. Now, if you divide by that, see, division by pure power of Q can be very nicely interpreted as shift in the degree, but if you divide by Q to the 5 plus Q to the 17, that's just very messy, because when you do this, it expands as an infinite sum, right? Use the geometric series or something. That is impossible to be interpreted as a shift in the degrees. Okay, on the other hand, where did this division by Q idea come from? Well, if you're just experimenting with Rogers-Ramanujan Gordon Andrews, you just divide these, right? And you see that, oh, a factor of Q is naturally coming out of these power series. And you can see it right in front of your eyes, okay, I have to take out Q and move on. But I think it's going to be pretty hard to just look at the power series and say, okay, I have to divide by Q to the 5 plus Q to the 17, right? I don't think anyone can do that. Which means such a situation is not really good, either from combinatorial side or from the algebraic side. And unfortunately, this is the situation that happens with the even modulus case, the Andrews-Brassoud identities, which is precisely the natural way to go up is by division with pure powers of Q. Okay?
By algebra could be a direct product of two different models. One of them. You can probably make up some scenario.
Yeah, so that's, we are going to make up something. Yeah. So thanks.
Yeah.
Now, okay, but why, if I have a motivated proof of Gordon's identities, why do I care about motivated proof of Andrews-Brassoud identities? Well, the reason is, it's the same algebra, it's just that the level is different. So whatever algebraic story goes behind this exact sequence, the main protagonist for that is just that algebra A11. So whatever works on odd case, maybe something similar, some little twist here and there should work for Brassoud identities as well, right? So now it's imperative that we look at how the motivated proof of Brassoud identities go. Alright, so now let's draw the diagram, and that's precisely what we are going to do. What we do is we introduce what we call ghost series. Alright. Anyway, so that's a big picture. Let's look at what it means. Alright. These are Pac-Man ghosts, and that's Matthew's idea. Alright, so let's stick with a particular value of k again, proof by example. K equal to 6. Okay. Let's recall that this corresponds to mod 12 identities. Modulus is 2 times k, which is 12 here. What are the conditions on the? So this corresponds to the product side. What is not a product side is called the sum side, because there is no other way to express it besides sum, infinite sum. That has difference 2 at distance 5. Okay? K minus 1 is 5. This has a congruence at a distance 4 condition. So if the parts are flat, they must add up to a certain congruence class, mod 2. And then there are a bunch of initial conditions. Alright, so let's keep the products that we have being given on the first shelf. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 products, as many as k equals. They have their difference conditions, all that. Let's note down the most important things which change across these products. Secretly, if you know the sum sides, here you have at most 5 ones allowed. Congruence condition is congruent 1 mod 2. Here you have at most 4 ones allowed, 0 mod 2, 1, 0, 1, 0. Alright? Now, if you did not have ghosts, I said that you can only compare identities which have the same parity. So you will have to subtract 1 from 3, or rather 3 from 1, or 4 from 2, and so on. And that involves such terrible divisions, which are not motivated, right? Motivated means that you can just see and do it. So we were just sitting in our office and we decided, okay, what happens if we just put in the awkward congruence conditions? Oh, I should have said that this is a joint work with Matthew, Jim, and Drew Sills. That should have come first.
Basically, Drew Sills and I knew everything except we couldn't figure out how to get rid of the q to the 5th plus q to the 17th issue, and this is their story. And then everything worked the same as before.
Yes. So now what you do is, you sort of, as Dr. Z suggested, precisely, you sort of break this division up into 2 divisions. You introduce these new formal series, Q series, which we call ghosts. So what you do is, you take this series that's here, just flip this congruence condition. So you get 2 tilde, 2 goes to 2 tilde, right? You just flip it. You do the same. And now you punch it in the maple. You don't know what's going to happen. And you ask Matthew what's going to happen. And what he tells you is that if you do this, then there is a nice way to write the power series that should go here in 2 ways using this ghost. And that's absolutely crucial. How do you do that? That's for all of these. So B7, let's forget about this right now. B8 can be represented in terms of B4 and the ghost B5. So B8 can be represented in terms of B4 and the ghost 5, and also B5 and B6. Okay? And that continues. Okay? So each of these has 2 representations, and here, so by the way, this is edge matching, so this copies here. So this ghost has nothing to subtract here, or you can think that 0 is being subtracted because there is nothing here. And then for 7 you get 2 representations, this minus that, but this also ends up being equal to that. That's that. Now why did I say that both of these are crucial? Because not only does this give you a safe passage to move up a shelf by divisions with pure powers of q, but if you use the right hand side equalities, it helps you define the ghosts by eliminating or by solving for them. Okay? And now it's the same story. You just prove that, okay, the things on the first shelf, these ghosts are also on the first shelf. So this is whole first shelf. They all start as 1 plus O of q. Now here they start as 1 plus O of q square. You prove that, and that's how you prove the Anders plus O identities. Okay?
So you were first calling them evil twins, but
yeah,
we decided to change what they're called.
Yeah. And the first time we wrote this down, the notation was absolutely messy. This is much polishing has been done to make it look nice. Alright, so that's what that Okay, so now, as you know, these guys here on the bottom shelf, they are nice products, right? I mean, they come from the identities themselves. These are the products. Did I write them down? Okay, I didn't write them down, but the products look like that. Unfortunately, the ghosts on the first shelf do not click into being products. Okay?
If they did, they would have been discovered earlier.
Exactly. If they did, they would have been discovered. Nonetheless, what goes on is, in order to prove that this holds, the empirical hypothesis holds, you have to use something known as the Jacobi triple product identity, which you can assume, by the way. It has the shape of product equaling an alternating sum, and you can assume that because that again pops straight out of algebra. Like take the basic module, the level 0 module for A11. Jacobi identity is related to that, and it's very easy. What you can do is you can find a representation of these in terms of something that looks like the Jacobi triple product identity. And then these sum sides, okay, what at moves forward once and then congruent to that, that gives the other side. So technically these ghosts also form new combinatorial identities, it's just that it's not too interesting, I guess. But that's what this is. Alright, to conclude, I guess, that's
so they're not interesting because they're too complicated?
What's that?
They're too complicated? He says they're not interested.
No, I mean, it's absolutely interesting. It's just that they don't click into being nice products.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, people want good things to look at, like products. And
the product sides don't look good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're right there. They
Yeah.
fit the
Yes.
universal pattern of nature.
Yeah. I mean, there are two distinct sides to these ghosts. There is one which looks like the Jacobi triple product alternating sum sides. One is these congruence conditions and difference conditions and so on. It's just that they don't click into being nice products. Alright, so to conclude, let me say a few words. First of all, we don't yet know where the ghosts reside in the vertex theory. So these are your homework problems and my homework problems also. Where do these ghosts reside in vertex theory?
That's a good question. Well, how do we discover this?
We'll have to dig deeper. We don't know. We'll have to discuss their. I mean, I don't know. If more such proofs are found, we'll have a clue as to where to find them. But as yet, this is just brand new. There is a way. So Andrews gives proofs with x's and q's, and there are proofs in terms of x's and q's for these identities as well. Now, for Gordon's identities, there is actually a way to go back and forth between the xq proof, as in Andrews' book, and the motivated proof. I mean, you don't get everything, but once you know one of the proofs, you can know a lot about the other proofs. That's what I mean. What happens is, this, in Andrews' book, is encoded in what's known as a J hypergeometric series. So this is for Rogers Ramanujan, Gordon's identities, and so on. But for the first time now, here, at least the best of my knowledge, what happens is, in ghosts, you get two interacting J series. The J series for, I shouldn't say J series, no, I shouldn't say J function, right? Because that means something. Okay, J series is safe. For ghosts, you have the J series corresponding to the official guys, and that interacts with a J tilde series for the ghosts. So this opens up new avenues to explore. So can you, what else can this apply to? Okay, and one important question which we are trying to think about is, can you do things like Caparinus identities, which were discovered by Caparelli in late 80s, I guess. These were perhaps the first identities of Rogers-Ramanujan kind which were first discovered on the Lie theoretic world, and then the combinatorial proof was found by Andrews. So they were first conjectured in the Lie theoretic world. Later there is a proof by Caparelli. These come from the algebra A to 2. If this can be done, then this will open up really new avenues, because recently, I don't know if you have heard about this, but Ben Nundy has produced some really spectacular identities. He just graduated. And there is no combinatorial proof yet of these identities at all. And these are extremely complicated ones.
But there is an algebraic proof?
Here?
Or it's not a conjecture?
No, it's a conjecture, but it's known to hold up to 179 is what he told me.
So it's a conjecture inspired by the algebra?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it often happens that first you get very strong conjectures using algebra, and then it takes a little more effort to prove them.
And for the Caparelli identity, is it now an algebraic proof also? Or
Yes, yes.
Or
So,
after Andrews was the first?
Yes.
But then
Yes.
after that?
Yeah. Andrews gave a combinatorial or Q series proof. Then Caparelli.
Yeah, at a Rademacher centenary conference in 1990, I think 2, I told the audience about Caparelli's work. Robert Wilson's my student.
Yeah.
He's in Italy now. And he wasn't finished proving the other inequality. And Andrews, Gordon, and Brissot got very, very excited. And Andrews, overnight, almost proved it. And changed his talk in his own talk in the conference to give a proof of that instead of what he was going to do in the conference. And then later, Caparelli used the algebras to finish his.
And Caparelli's algebraic proof was inspired?
No.
It was completely different.
Orthogonal, different world. Caparelli finished doing the Z-algebra theory that he could only do part of as of his thesis. He had plenty for his thesis. His first job was at Yale.
And the last sentence I'll say today is, so we have, Matthew's going to talk about some really exciting stuff next week. And what he's going to talk about, we don't have a proof yet. Okay? So that is still open. So thanks.